think that the glory days for the UK space sector were in the past, but nothing could be further from the truth. We've got a world-class sector, 29,000 jobs. It's a sector that generates more than £9 billion for the UK economy every year, and it is ripe for growth. One of the big challenges, though, is going to be skills workforce supply. And this is where the higher apprenticeship for the space sector could be a key element for success in the future.
This new higher apprenticeship scheme is a really key part of how we're going to achieve this growth in the skills base that we need, but exactly by getting this mix of practical hands-on stuff, which is always very exciting in the space business, and also the theoretical skills that underpin it to understand how spacecraft work, how to develop the applications that space data are going to provide in the future.
Higher Apprenticeship is a combination of a work-based qualification and the foundation degree, which we are validating through Leicester University. This apprenticeship gives you a foundation degree, which is effectively level 5 in the jargon, which allows you to progress on to top-up degree, so you can carry on and finish off with a BEng or a BSc. So you still have got the opportunity to have a degree and do postgraduate studies, but you've also got a job, so you've got money coming in. You don't have a student loan in the true sense. You don't have to pay tuition fees because your companies will pay for that. So it's a win-win for the student.
What is very important with these sort of apprenticeships is to address real problems. Higher apprenticeships will make a real difference because they'll put students into real situations that industry and universities need. So here we're developing new instrumentation to measure air pollution from space. What we need to do is make it smaller, make it lighter, make it use less power. By working together with industry and universities, these apprenticeships will get right to the heart of what's really needed for the next generation of space technologists.
We're building rockets and testing them here in the laboratory to send a spacecraft to another planet. So we need the entire spectrum of skills to be able to do the work that we're doing. We've been involved from the outset in the specification of the syllabus. The higher apprenticeship scheme will provide the recruits with the correct skills.
I think it's really important that we realise in the UK the depth of manufacturing capability that we do have. On a daily basis we are building things which are getting launched into space. I think that's a really inspiring thing to be working on. The space industry has some really quite specific requirements in terms of the skills that we need and the approach that we take, and so having people that from the outset are trained in those principles, that have the right background, is really important for us so that we can really hit the ground running.
Well, I want to go into becoming an experimental physicist, so being able to work with an employer, you get given skills that you wouldn't necessarily get at university. It'll give me a better experience for the future.
The more work experience you get before you go into the outer world and you try and get a job of your own, the better, really, because at the end of the day, that's what they're looking for. It's all right having qualifications, but most people have qualifications these days in that kind of area, so it will increase the chances of getting a job in something that I enjoy.
From the outset, the programme has been shaped with the active involvement of all sorts of companies from the UK space sector, upstream, downstream, from SMEs to some of the biggest players.
We've had intense consultation with industry across the country in the space sector, as well as a steering committee, to make sure the content of the foundation degree meets the employer's needs, both in the skill sets they need for various jobs and in the actual academic content they will need for the roles for the future.
The Space Engineering Higher Apprenticeship has engaged employers very, very early on. Magna Pub has been a big supporter of it right from the very beginning. What the employer gets from it is they get to work with a young person right from the age of 16, 17, 18 through to the point where they're the same age as a graduate, but coming in with all the skills you already need. What an apprenticeship gave me was a very practical understanding very early on, mixed in with the academic support of going to college, of engineering and the world at work.
For starters, everything you learn is tailored exactly to what you're doing. Most of the time, what you learn, you're applying immediately. Every now and then you kind of have to stop a bit and kind of take a breath and realise that actually what you're working on is going into space. It's really exciting, especially when it has a real world application, like for example going up to Mars. One of the other projects we're working on is MIXUS, which is the Mercury Optical X-ray Spectrometer, and that basically is going to Mercury to look at the composition of the planet. That should be there by 2020, and I've been working on that, so it's really exciting to see kind of an application in the real world.
The apprentice scheme is very, very important because it allows you to shape the individual to the profile of the needs that you have as a company and the culture of the company. So it's a tailor-made opportunity to take somebody who's still in a formative stage of their learning and shape them to the needs that you have, as well as building an exciting and interesting career for the individual concerned. We here at SSBV have had a significant input into the curriculum, so we see that as very important for us, that we've had a direct influence on the programme, which is going to have the effect of generating a future employee that has just the right mix of the academic knowledge, but with a very much a working outlook as well.
Since I've got here, I've learnt all kinds of skills which I would never learn at university. The skills I learnt at university, some of them are very useful, others not always directly applicable. And so if you're learning on the job, you're learning exactly what you need to do the job in a very direct fashion, and you learn the academic stuff as you need to.
For a company, it's a win-win situation because they will have someone that will do some productive work from day one, but also receive some particular training specifically dedicated at what the job is about. So it's really, as I said, it's a win-win situation for both the apprentice and the company.
The space sector itself is well poised for growth. I absolutely believe Higher Apprenticeship scheme can play a key part. There's a definite need for that sort of high calibre of skills at a technician level. I was an apprentice myself. There were around 50 of us, and to look at the proportion of those now that are in very senior positions in companies, have also gone on to do their own startups and done some absolutely incredible things. So in no way I think that people should get the impression that coming into an apprenticeship in some way puts a barrier on where you can go to. It's absolutely not the case.
There's no doubt about it that the space sector is perhaps one of the most exciting industries you get involved in, whether it's developing a probe that's going to go to Mars, developing a new way to understand the weather and how the climate is going to change and affect our lives in the future, or developing that killer space app that you're going to sell through your business maybe, and the opportunities are really out there to be grabbed.
Here in the UK, we've got a world-class space sector, and if we want it to fulfil its potential for growth, one of the critical issues is going to be workforce supply, getting enough people with the right technical skills to really boost the sector as a whole to its full potential.